All right, we have enough updates on the Super Bowl parade shooting that happened after the rally ended that I found it worth making a video on everything going on to keep you all in the loop. I will say though, it brings me no joy or excitement to share this, to dig into these details and to report on it. I would much prefer that this never happened, but hopefully knowing that there is progress being made in the case, people are being charged, and hopefully justice will prevail in the end brings maybe a little bit of encouragement to you all in the midst of such a tragic situation. So far, there's been 2 adults charged with second-degree murder and more. Then there's still juveniles being held, 2 of them I believe, but because they are under the age of 18, we are getting very little information about them at the moment. And before I get to the 2 adults charged and more details of what went on, I do want to share a couple of other updates first. It looks like every single child that was in Children's Mercy Hospital, ages 6 to 15, are expected to make a full recovery and have been discharged. So that is certainly good news there. The next thing to mention is that per Sam McDowell of the KC Star, Lisa Lopez-Galvan was actually wearing a Harrison Butker jersey when she was shot and killed at the parade, and the word spread that the family was trying to find/order another Butker jersey to place it with her when they lay her to rest, and Harrison Butker caught word of this and had one delivered to the funeral home. A statement was then released of Butker commending Lisa's shared Catholic faith and said he's honored to provide a jersey to the family for her to wear, and he's praying for them during this tough time. So it was definitely a great gesture from the man that I've labeled as the team's season-long MVP. Another thing worth noting here is that this man, Denton Loudermill, went viral on the day of the parade when he was shown in handcuffs somewhere around the time of the shooting. He was said to be all kinds of things, lots of assumptions there, from one of the shooters to even a congressman from Tennessee, Tim Burchett, I guess is his name, I don't know, but he falsely labeled this man as an illegal alien. Well, it turns out that Denton Loudermill is a native from Olathe, and he was detained for being intoxicated and not moving away from the crime scene. He was released without being issued a citation and had nothing to do with the shooting. He recently held a press conference as well with his attorney and said, quote, "I just want to clear my name that I had nothing to do with anything. I was just enjoying myself like everybody else. But other than that, I was out there not to harm anybody. I was just enjoying the parade like everyone else." And I brought this up to help spread awareness for Denton and his family, as he's reportedly received death threats over the whole ordeal, but again, had nothing to do with the shooting. All right, next up, there was a press conference held yesterday by Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker on Tuesday, February 20th. And in that presser, she revealed that 2 adults have been charged with second-degree felony murder, armed criminal action, unlawful use of a weapon, and armed criminal action. The maximum prison sentence for all 4 of these charges combined, by the way, spells a prison sentence of up to 75 years. They are being held on a $1 million bond, and as of yesterday during the press conference that was held, were both still in the hospital guarded by police as they recovered from gunshot wounds sustained at the parade. And before I go any further, these 2 individuals have been charged, but still need to stand trial and be convicted. So as I go over these details, think of the word allegedly as I share them. And with that, the 2 individuals charged were Lyndell Mays, 23 years old, and Dominic Miller, who's 18 years old. And there's been no photos released of Dominic yet, as I guess they haven't been able to take one. He's still at the hospital, but Lyndell Mays is out of the hospital and was in court today. So that's why you can see a photo of Lyndell, but not Dominic. Anyway, the short version of what happened at the parade after the rally, per the words of prosecutor Jean Peters Baker, was an argument took place at the Chiefs rally, and Mays was the first person to allegedly pull out a gun. Then multiple others pulled out firearms and responded, including Dominic Miller, and it was Miller's gun that fired the bullet that struck and killed Lisa Lopez-Galvan. And when you go through their probable cause statements, one from Lyndell and Dominic, links are in the description, a few pages long each, but they initially lied about their stories, giving statements that was inconsistent with the surveillance footage obtained. And then when told, hey, everything was caught on camera, we know what you did, their stories then of course changed. A deeper summary of what happened according to surveillance footage from the area and what the suspects told detectives after they knew there was footage are basically this. 2 groups of people got into a confrontation over who knows what, because the reason hasn't yet been made public, but that led things to escalate rather quickly. During this confrontation, Lyndell Mays and several witnesses were approached by 4 men who began arguing with him about who he was, quote unquote, looking at and why. One of the men had a firearm visible hanging out of his bag, and of course, Mays did not like that, responding, though, in an aggressive manner, with a lady that was with him trying to prevent him from advancing further. Mays then circled back behind a person, pulled out a handgun, and started chasing after someone in the other group, firing shots at him. Lyndell told detectives that he hesitated shooting because he knew there were kids there, but thought any one of these guys from the other group all could have guns. So he just randomly picked one of the individuals to target. His reasoning for that, by the way, was because he was in fear of the lady's life that he was with. That's what he said in his statement. Mays then confirmed that he drew a gun first in a crowd of people with kids, picked one of the individuals at random, and started shooting, all because, according to him, the other group said, "I'm going to get you." And to him, that meant, "I'm going to kill you." Lyndell Mays then stated the other individuals started shooting only after he did. Mays then called his action stupid, saying, quote, "I shouldn't have done that," even acknowledging he knew the person he started firing at first was running away from him. Well, of course, after Lyndell started firing, the other group, which included Dominic Miller, pulled out weapons and fired back. And during the exchange, Lyndell got struck by gunfire and fell to the ground as everyone fled. And Dominic Miller was the one that struck Lisa Lopez-Galvan. Miller himself got shot in the lower back during this, fell down, even tripped over a cone at some point, and then got back up and ran off before later needing to be hospitalized due to his injuries. And later on in the hospital, Miller told police he'd been armed with a Taurus, I think is how you say it. I'm not a gun expert, but it was a Taurus G3 9mm handgun. And according to this report, the ballistic comparison of the bullet recovered from Lisa's autopsy was determined to be from Miller's gun. So Lyndell Mays started it all, at least the first one to pull a gun, start firing. Miller fired back and struck and killed Lisa. And both of these guys ended up in the hospital due to their injuries. And again, that's where they remained, at least as of yesterday's press conference, but we got a little update today. Lyndell Mays did indeed appear in court, informing the judge he's hired a private attorney and will have a bond review hearing on February 29th. And the saddest part of all this is the whole situation could have been avoided. We don't yet know the reason as to why all this started, but I promise it was probably dumb as hell, considering all the innocent people that was surrounding these guys. It never needed to happen. Because of this, Lisa Lopez-Galvan lost her life, and 23 people, I believe it was, got shot with many injuries other than that occurring during the chaos that ensued immediately after. A senseless act of violence, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that was beyond stupid, and hopefully all parties involved end up going to prison for a long time if, of course, found guilty in the court of law. A reason I'm pretty sure this could very well happen for Lyndell Mays, depending on the verdict, of course, is because this is not the first time he's pulled out a gun in public. He actually just recently got off unsupervised probation for pulling out a gun during a dispute at the Belton Community Center in 2021, which caused members at the community center to fear for their safety and caused others to run out of the gym. And per Cameron Taylor of KSHB, it's been doing great work, by the way, shout out to them, quote, "A municipal court clerk in Belton told me he served 5 days in jail and received 2 years of unsupervised probation. The probation began February 8th, 2022. Mays was found guilty by the court on disorderly conduct." And for those of you wondering, well, how the heck was Lyndell Mays allowed to have a gun after that happened? Well, I'm not honestly sure if he was legally allowed to or not. I would assume not, but it didn't matter because a computer check ran by the police on the gun they found on the ground in blood next to where Lyndell was shot turned out to be stolen out of Kansas City, Missouri. And before I get out of here, this is a developing situation. There are others still involved aside from Lyndell Mays and Dominic Miller being charged. There's also 2 teens who potentially face gun-related charges as well as resisting arrest in the shooting. But those details right now are slim to none because they are under the age of 18. The police made it clear in a statement they released yesterday or recently that they are working nonstop on this case to ensure that anyone else responsible for the shootings is apprehended and that they receive the maximum punishment allowed by law, which means there may be even more charges coming. Miller and Mays were only 2 of the shooters, and time will tell how many there actually were. And those are the main updates at this point in time. So until next time, be safe out there and see you later.